What's going on, you guys? So check it right. We just got some new music from the dealer himself, Zoocci Coke Dope. And man, was this one deep and personal. So Zoocci dropped the 5th installment of Current State of Mind, where he usually gets super introspective and gives details into the inner workings of his thoughts and his mind. And with him being quiet for so long, fans have been wondering what happened to him and why he hadn't been dropping. Now, he dropped the record on his birthday, which also happens to be the 4th anniversary of his debut album, Anxiety. Now, if you've been watching the channel, you'll know that I've spoken on his situation on several occasions, where he's expressed his frustrations with Stay Low and Vaughn not allowing him to leave the label because of contract disputes, as well as him not dropping any music. Now, because Zoocci is in a deal he can't leave, he essentially feels like a slave, which speaks to his current mind state and the cover art of the record. Now, the artwork depicts a white entertainer in blackface, and if you don't know, and I'm sure you do, minstrel shows began in the early 1800s and featured white entertainers in blackface, singing, dancing, and acting in ways that were meant to mock black people. The whole point of this entertainment was to paint black people as less than human and to justify continued violence towards and subjugation of black people as actual slaves. Now, because Zoocci feels like a slave, he views Vaughn, who is the artist manager and label executive at Stay Low, as a black oppressor. And if you look at the cover art a bit closer, you'll notice that it has Vaughn's beard as well as his eye, which kind of tells you how Zoocci views him and why he dislikes him so much. Now, on the cover art, there's the big letter V, which kind of symbolizes a few things. The first being it's representing the number 5 in Roman numerals, the second being V for Vaughn, and the third being V for a woman's genitalia and not villain, as Zoocci stated in the record. So the cover art really sets the tone for what Zoocci spoke on, and man, did he talk. Now, on the hook of the track, Zoocci starts off by saying, "Days go by, we gon' see who gon' lie. Live your life, everybody gon' die. I don't have time, so you know I don't try. When you need a spare tire, we gon' see who gon' ride. How you know me when you don't know yourself? Only took time so you could show yourself. Getting back at me, but you gon' hold yourself. Niggas ain't solid, better bro yourself." So Zoocci wasted no time in coming off the Vaughn, pretty much saying that time reveals all and the truth always comes out. How Vaughn claims to know Zoocci, but he doesn't even know himself, which could speak to the cover art once again, with Vaughn putting on blackface, portraying someone he isn't. How Vaughn has been hoeing himself in a theoretical aspect, working with other artists and shelving Zoocci just to get back at him. And lastly, how Vaughn isn't solid and he needs to check himself. So it's clear that Zoocci really feels some type of way towards Vaughn, and it seems like whatever relationship they had, well, it's definitely over. Now, throughout the first verse, Zoocci touched on a couple of other things, like how he's tried to quit sipping lean, but he's been relapsing because it's one of the few ways which allows him to relax. How people have been asking where he's been, because he's been gone for a while, but he's been soul searching and talking to his priest. He also speaks on his loved ones and how the dynamics with them are. He also touched on how he's been getting so many calls in a week with people needing him, as he's a pillar of strength, and despite what he's going through, he can't fall to his knees and let all those people down, and how certain artists would be household names if they did things his way. So as I said, he touched on quite a few things, but the thing about Zoocci is that even though his producing and engineering skills make up a huge part of his talents, not enough is said about his writing skills. I mean, throughout the record, we can hear Zoocci deliver some really dope lines like, "And when you're getting money, know that you got cheese for the rats." He also says, "My daughter got a full set of teeth. Her mama got me sweating like I'm Keith." And lastly, "Where's the juice from all the lemons that you squeeze?" So if I haven't said it already, I really do appreciate Zoocci's writing, and that should be highlighted since these other skills usually get the most praise. Now, on the second verse, this is where Zoocci really spoke about his frustrations with what he's going through, and he really got at Vaughn as well. So a few things, right? Despite feeling like a slave, he still doesn't feel oppressed, and him dropping this record is proof of that. He makes mention of Vaughn doing a press run, referencing him appearing on the Sobering podcast and a few other podcasts where he spoke on Zoocci and their contractual disputes. He also feels like Vaughn is constantly trying to push his buttons, but says if he wants to get bodied, he should go ahead and press 1. Now, because Zoocci has been pursuing music for quite some time, he makes it known that he's been getting money from it, so for him to not receive any projections projections from how much he could potentially make from entering the partnership with Stay Low. While that was pretty suspicious to him, he also takes a dig at Vaughn's character and how people seem to think he's a chill guy because he portrays to be this soft individual, which isn't the case according to Zoocci, kind of insinuating that he's fake and a horrible person. Now, I think the most surprising and interesting revelation from this whole record is that Zoocci states that he never signed any papers or a contract which stipulates that he's under Stay Low and that the label owns his catalog. So if that's the case, are we saying that Stay Low and Vaughn allegedly committed fraud against Zoocci? Because it would explain why Zoocci feels so confused and surprised, since he knows for a fact that he didn't sign any papers, giving away all his publishing. And I felt like the most telling lines from the record was when Zoocci said the following: faking signatures, they're trying to kill that nigga. I'm so mad I can't think. Eyes wide open, I can't blink. Sign my name with no ink. My name too big, it can't shrink. They don't like when niggas get money. Playing with my life and my kid ain't funny. So it's clear that he's going through it, and it's understandable as to why he's been keeping to himself this whole time. Now, on the outro of the record, Zoocci pretty much gives his truth, stating that his publishing was stolen because of papers he never signed, and it's hard to prove that he didn't sign them. He also stated that he doesn't own his catalog anymore, and it pretty much belongs to Stay Low. He feels like he's been backed into a corner to the point where they want him broke, just so he can crawl back to the label and ask them to drop more music of his. And that just speaks to labels playing that dirty game with artists, forcing them to obey their will, using extortion as a tactic. Now, in order for Zoocci to get out of this deal, he would have to pay his way out, and whatever that amount is, while it's clearly a lot to the point where he can't pay it, otherwise he would have. Now, we touched on how he isn't willing to do that, and if it means that he never gets to drop any music ever again, that's a decision he's willing to make. He's not just willing to hand over the music he works hard for to people who are willing to essentially scam him and lock him up in a deal he wants no part of. He also emphasizes that he doesn't understand why they're doing this to him, because he literally didn't sign any papers, but if he did, it would make sense for the label and himself to obey the contractual agreement. And when it all comes down to it, it's not just him they're punishing, it's also his family, and that seems to hurt him the most. He also apologizes to his fans and anybody that's been supporting him through the years, as well as also apologizing for trusting certain individuals so easy and being in this current situation. All I can say is that it's very unfortunate what Zoocci is going through. I mean, if he really didn't sign any papers, let that man go. Let him be free so he can live his life the way he sees fit, and so he can provide for his family accordingly. I think there should be a lesson to all artists to not only know what type of deal they're getting themselves into with these labels, but to also know the people who are running these labels. Because as Zoocci said, he trusts a certain individual so easy, and look where it's gotten him. In closing, all I'll say is that I hope he manages to resolve this issue, because to not hear from one of the dopest artists in the game is definitely unfortunate. This man is a genius, and if we never get to hear from him again after this, well, it was certainly a pleasure listening to the music he gave us, and he'll definitely go down as one of the greatest to ever do it. But you guys let me know your thoughts on this. What did you make of this whole situation with Zoocci, and do you think he'll be able to resolve it? Also, let me know what you thought about the track. Did you enjoy it or not? Comment down below. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed. Please make sure